Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Altasea at the Port of Los Angeles. Are you happy today? Are you glad that you're not on the East Coast today? My sister lives in northern Florida where it was 20 degrees last night, and I just keep sending her pictures and snapshots of the 80-degree weather here and saying, yeah, so much for Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Altasea. My name's Terry Tamminen. I'm the president and CEO here. And if you've never been to Altasea, please come take a seat. You're in for a great program here today. Started in a moment with a wonderful land acknowledgement. I want to recognize our dignitaries who are here today. I don't think we have any elected officials, but we do have Mike Galvin, who's the director of real estate of the port right here in the back. There's Mike waving. Say hi to Mike. I know we have Geraldine Natz, who is here today. She is a member, a trustee of the Altasea, of course, and was the director of the Port of Los Angeles. I think she may be in the back somewhere there. Any of our other trustees here today? I know Cynthia Hirschhorn is here. She's a longtime friend of the organization and was a trustee. She's here somewhere, wave, and she's got a great art program you should learn more about. In any event, if I missed anybody, let me know, but welcome to all of you. You're all VIPs. I want to especially recognize our amazing staff, led by Jenny Crusoe, who's in the back there, our founder. Give her a great big round of applause. I mentioned that the nonprofit Altasea was formed about a decade ago. Well, she actually had the idea 15 years ago, so she's really been working on this dream for a long time, as have so many others. But our staff here, we couldn't do it without our incredibly hardworking, dedicated staff who are seated all around here at these various tables. And so anybody with a blue shirt, please be nice to them. But the other people that are wearing blue shirts are our volunteers. And we really could not do all of this without the volunteers, our ocean ambassadors. Please give them a great big round of applause. And if you are saying, gee, how could I become a volunteer and get to be part of this and part of the future of the blue economy, ask anybody in a blue shirt and we will help you join. Happy to have you on board. Well, now it is my great pleasure to introduce our culture bearer and advisor of the past and the future, Tina Calderon. We'll bring her up to the front. Please give her a welcome.
Thank you, Terry. Tehovet Tamed, it is a good morning. And yeah, I agree with you, Terry. Tehovet Tamed, the sun is good today and always, right? So, mi hija netwanya netinor duno calderon, komikra bet tangve, koi mixkanakan, koyo eme, koi chicana, awesh koneha ko abamanete hobet tamet. I'm speaking first in my native language, which is the language that was spoken here always. But what I'm saying to you, and the reason why I start with that is because I am speaking to my ancestors as well. They need to know who I am coming into this space. But what I'm saying to you is, hello, my name is Tina Orduno Calderon. I'm Gabrielino Tangva, Ventureño Chumash, Ueme, and Chicana. And I'm really happy to be here with all of you today. I do want to start by just thanking Altasea for all the good works they're doing and everybody who supports Altasea, all the partners and sponsors, and all of y'all who are doing good works around the ocean in your own way too, whether it's environmental or whatever it is you're doing. We appreciate it because we acknowledge Moamat, our ocean, as an important, very important life source. And it's our responsibility. That's what was given to us when we came into this realm, that it's our responsibility to be good caretakers, never cause any harm. So with that, I do want to acknowledge my tribal relatives, past, present, and emerging. We are the original Tarahatam, or the original peoples of Tovangad. And if you've never heard the word Tovangad, that is our word for world, and it encompasses the world that we knew. So it's our tribal territory. Our territory is quite expansive. It goes from San Fernando Valley all the way south to Orange County, to Newport Beach, east along the Santa Ana River, we call it Cajopajay, the Long River, to Corona, Riverside, part of San Bernardino, and back along the foothills. And then we also have the 4 Southern Channel Islands. So very commonly, we're maritime peoples. You'll see back here that there's some signage about Momat Ahiko, which is our tiat, our wood plank sewn canoe. And we would launch from this area and go to Pimu and trade with our relatives there. So it's a very special place for us. And I'm really super grateful to my ancestors because they left us with so many rich, beautiful teachings about how to live in harmony with the lands, the waters, the plants, all the sacred elements, the minerals, the animals, all those. And we call them peoples as well, all those peoples of nature, because we're part of nature, right? We don't separate ourselves from nature ever. We're part of it, and everything we do affects nature. Just like throwing a pebble into a pond, you see that ripple? That energy that we put out brings in good, or it can bring in bad. So we have to be careful what we do, what we say. And I'm just really honored to be here with all of you. I hope you learn a lot, and I hope it inspires you to step up and maybe go even beyond what you're doing. The last time we gathered, we talked about, this offshore oil drilling, the leases that they want to open up along our coast. The first chance to put in your comments has closed, but there's a new opportunity. Now they're going with it no matter what. Even all the letters of opposition, they're talking about opening first Central California and Southern California. So please be vigilant. Please use your voice. Please speak up and protect our oceans. And with that, I usually offer a song to go with it. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do Momat Ahiko. Momat is the ocean, and Ahiko is the wind. But it also kind of translates to the breath of life. And so that is what she is to us. And it goes like this. Momat Ahiko pararahamino. Momarahiko pararahamino, pararahamino, pararahamin, pararahamino, pararahamin. Momarahiko pararahamino, momarahiko pararahamino, pararahamino, pararahamin, pararahamino, pararahamin. Momarahiko pararahamino, momarahiko pararahamino, pararahamino, pararahamin, pararahamino, pararahamin. Momarahiko pararahamino, momarahiko pararahamino, pararahamino, pararahamin. Pararahamino, pararahamin. Thank you. And I'll turn it back over to the program and just enjoy your day. It's a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you all. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Tina. That was lovely and a great reminder that we are not the first people to be here. I talk about these buildings being 110 years old. That's nothing compared to the ancestry that Tina was talking about and how much we can learn from our ancestors. She mentioned oil and trying to stop oil drilling off our coast, all the damage that's done. But, even the native peoples who were here used natural asphaltum that washed up on the shore from natural seeps to be able to caulk the wooden canoes and to make them watertight and for other purposes. So they used what nature gave them. They didn't try to force nature to squeeze something out of the ground at great cost to the environment, to the air, to our souls. But they used what nature gave and only what nature could give. And I think that's kind of the lesson to learn, is how could we live within that gift of nature. And I think something like I mentioned before, kelp growing here in California can be this huge industry. It was before. There was a company called Kelco that used to produce millions and millions of tons of kelp. Even during World War II, they made gunpowder out of kelp. amongst other things. And then just for a variety of reasons, the industry disappeared, and we're trying to bring that back, because one of the things that oil is used for, and most people think of oil ending up in our cars, well, only about 25% of a barrel of oil ends up in our vehicles. The rest of it goes into other products, including, as we all know, plastics. Well, guess what can make biodegradable, sustainable plastic alternatives? Kelp and other kinds of seaweeds. So we know that nature can give us what we need if we just pay attention as our ancestors did. So again, thank you, Tina. Thank you for that reminder. Well, the ocean, for those of you that think about these kinds of things, and we do here every day, 70% of our planet is ocean, right? I mean, you can look at the map and you can see that 2/3 is ocean, 1/3 is land, but that doesn't tell the real story. Because when you look at the map of the land, that's kind of all there is for humans and plants and animals to use in some way and inhabit. But the ocean is not just the surface, it's deep. So I asked a researcher to tell me, if I took all the water from the ocean and put it on the land, how deep would my swimming pool be? And the answer was 5 miles deep. So the height of Mount Everest on all the 30% of the planet that's land would be water. So that gives you the real perspective. It's not just 70-30, it's 5 miles times 0. But in any event, using that sustainably is what we're all here for. And one of the best ways to do that, to teach people about the opportunities, the history, and the future of sustainable uses of our ocean, is to get people to care about the ocean and to get them to experience the ocean. Well, what better way than a day at the beach, and take that one step further, a day on a surfboard? How many of you have ever been surfing, even badly? Raise your hand. Yeah, okay, all right, and I'm definitely bad at it. But the guy who's very good at it and who is showing us about my example about how kelp can become an alternative to plastics, how we can do something very different with plastic, even the stuff we've already produced that doesn't seem to want to go anywhere, is Ryan Harris. He's a surfboard shaper, artist, and sustainability innovator. He was raised in Oregon and shaped by a deep commitment to surfing. He was an early leader in environmental responsibility for surfboard building, and he founded Earth Technologies, the world's first high-performance eco-surfboard factory, and he launched the industry's first zero-waste initiative. And today, through Eco by Rye at Altasea, right here, he's leading the Re-Up Our Ocean campaign, turning plastic pollution into surfboard fins and other upcycled and sustainable products. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat. Please welcome Ryan Harris. And where is he? There he is.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. All right. So can everybody hear me? Okay. Usually I'm so loud I don't need this, but first and foremost, I want to acknowledge and thank everyone that's here. We got some big news and announcements today, and obviously making the surfboards would be possible without Altasea, but the Re-Up Our Ocean project really, I can thank Altasea for just letting a very unorganized, messy environmental shaper welcoming me with open arms a couple years ago, and I joined their educational platform, and here we are. So in order to get to the Re-Up Our Ocean project campaign, you kind of need to hear my journey about how I got there, a little bit of my background, but more about the surfboard industry and why I got so fired up. So we will start here. I'm gonna be walking around stage quite a bit to show you guys some cool things and innovations, and we'll do a Q&A after. I have a tendency to talk a lot, so if I go over, my apologies. And then when we're done, we're gonna do some live shredding, which I think people are pretty excited about. Okay, so I just said that. So how this started. So how many surfers do we have in here? Show of hands. Okay. The thing about surfing is, I think my wife would definitely agree with this. We're selfish. Surfers are selfish. We spend a lot of time in the water. People have accused us of being slackers, but one thing for sure about surfers is we're hyper aware of what's around us, and what's around us is the ocean and the environment, and it tells us things. One of the things that's very hypocritical about this surfboard industry is that surfboards are toxic. They're toxic for the workers, they're toxically made, and that means they're really bad for the environment. So I've been doing this about 25 years, and I didn't surf in Oregon really. It's cold and sharky. But when I moved down here right out of school, I used to work for Nike, so I'm a bit of a sneakerhead. If you guys ever see my shaping bay, there's shoes everywhere. But I was a designer and grew up in Very Green, Oregon, so that would later kind of, in adulthood, I guess make sense as to why I'm an environmentalist. But back to surfboards being toxic. I had no idea when I first started surfing how bad they were, because they don't smell bad when you're surfing them. The wax smells good. But then I went to a repair shop, and you could smell it from blocks away. And then I started making my own boards because it was getting really expensive, because I'm a relatively big dude and I would break all my boards. So I went from this backyard dude with no training, bought a bunch of tools and kind of taught myself how to do it. And the glass shops took my money and didn't give me any advice and laughed at my shapes, I'm sure. But fast forward to about 5 years in, wife bartended and told me to quit my bartending day job and pursue it full time. So I did. And along the way, working at a traditional factory, I would come home and she would refuse to give me a hug or kiss me because I reeked. I just smelled like the chemicals in the surfboards. And so one of the things it's a lot of different industries, but the main component is the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, the fumes. So again, you can smell those from blocks away. Think gas, acetone, spray paint, that stuff you can smell. The biggest organ on your body is actually your skin. So I can have my respirator, I can all my protective garb on, but when you're doing this manual labor, you sweat and your pores open up. So if you've got this mask on, it's still getting in your body. And I'd be in like the hot coat room, doing hot coats or whatever, and come home, and she'd just be like, dude, this is disgusting. And so there was a major invention about 17, 18 years ago. Bioepoxy was invented. And it was the first resin, we used resin to make surfboards, that had no VOCs. And it was plant-based. And the original stuff was called Super Sap. And I got in on the ground level, and it was yellow, because it's made from sap. And this is how stupid surfers are. Old boards are yellow. They decay over time, and there's a negative connotation to yellow because they're bright white like these chairs when they start off, when they're in the shops, and the UVs yellow the boards over time. So what color were these brand new boards with this sap resin? They were yellow. So it was a non-starter. Nobody cared that they were, oh, there's no such thing as an eco board. Anybody know here what the original surfboards were made out of? Wood? Isn't that eco? So the original surfboards were eco boards. They were sustainable. And they weren't slapping them up with this toxic resin. Well, they also weighed like 200 pounds. So as they evolved, they got lighter, and that's where we went to foam and fiberglass, which is basically a legacy technology that's been around for 100 years. So bioepoxy was invented, and that helped. But these images here show you a different story. They show you the amount of waste generated to make said board. So if we already have a board that's made out of toxic materials, let's talk about the waste produced to make said board. So the number one board purchased in most surf shops is your traditional short board that the pros ride in the contest, and they weigh about 6 pounds, but 12 pounds of manufacturing waste is generated to make said board. That's double the weight. I didn't know this. I had been building boards for 10 years and did not know this. So shout out to Sustainable Surf. One of their founders was going to be up here with me, and he couldn't be here, but they did an audit at one of the bigger factories and published their results. So that's your traditional legacy technology: polyurethane foam, fiberglass, and polyester resin. Eco boards, the eco counterpart, we had a 50% reduction in waste by using different materials, lighter materials, which I'm going to get into some show and tell and show you guys some of that later. But that's the imagery of broken boards going into the landfill, all the waste going into the landfill, when I'm done and after the Q&A, I want you guys to come up here and look and feel and touch. I'm eco-friendly, but I still create a ton of waste, and that's some of the stuff you see up here. One of the big ones is our floors. We have to coat our floors with roofing paper so it doesn't bond to the concrete, and it gradually builds up. Those floors weigh a lot, and that is not recyclable. None of this surfboard waste, I'm just gonna get down here and show you. None of this stuff is recyclable. So if you can see in this bag, I have a solution for this, so I can show you my trash. So you have foam offcuts, fiberglass scraps, resin, tape, stir sticks, squeegees, gloves, razor blades, you name it. And it, at your traditional shops, ends up in the landfill. So some of the numbers that I put together, and these are just domestically, this is just in the US. We have about 500,000 boards purchased annually. Well, what did I say about that weight? So we have roughly 15 million pounds of toxic waste. That's just in the US. There's an estimated 13 to 20 million boards sold globally. And what I call the plastic straw of surfboards is, you know, surfers in the audience know that when you're learning, it's easier to learn on a soft top, which is safer. It's not hard, it's not fiberglass. Well, back here, I've got a broken one. That's what I do with them. So I actually take broken boards and glue them together and whatever. But those things, there's 1 million of those sold. They're all made overseas, and they don't care what they're made out of. And so those things have a lot of different plastic, toxic glues. But the worst part is over on this table, you'll see these little stringers. So stringers are in a regular surfboard, it's a wooden strip that strengthens the board down the center. In these soft tops, it's really crappily made particle wood stringers that aren't watertight. So when these boards go in the water, they're not sealed. So they start absorbing water. So when people donate these boards to me, they're rotting from the inside out. So I've got these moldy stringers and we toss them, but we keep the foam. Okay, so we know surfboards are toxic. And when I got that number from the audit from Sustainable Surf, we had already reduced our waste by 50% by changing the materials. But surfboard waste is bulky. It takes up a lot of room in the landfill, and the number one thing is our shaping dust. So by switching to styrofoam instead of polyurethane foam, my shaping dust is a little different. I'm probably gonna make a mess. But these are little tiny beads of styrofoam. See all this? Right? Right? Any idea how many boards worth this is in here? 3. That's it. Okay? So that's a 33-gallon container. So I started thinking, well, we generate all this trash. I'm never going to get rid of it, but could I upcycle it? And resin is plastic. So then I kind of went down this whole rabbit hole of, well, what if we get one of those shredders that shreds plastic bottles? That's how they recycle plastic bottles, high-density plastic shredder, shredded plastic surfboard waste. We can shred our trash. So I launched this crazy project called the Zero Waste Initiative. And truth be told, is it possible to have a 100% complete zero waste surfboard factory? What do you guys think the answer is? No. But we'd reduced our waste by like 1,000%, and it was that whole idea to strive to do better, to make things better. And so I had to break down all those things in that bag I showed you. I had to break down all my different waste streams and figure out, okay, can we process that differently? It's a high-density plastic shredder, so if I put a plastic glove in there, it's probably gonna break it. Well, I jammed it the first week. But the foam, and if you Google this, you'll find it. We don't do it anymore because they're kind of gross. But, and I don't even have it on the slide, this just reminded me of it. So a pro stand-up paddleboard surfer in Maui sent me a video, a time-lapse video, and I thought it was CGI. It showed this broken paddleboard with styrofoam on the inside getting eaten from the inside out by a specific type of mealworm. It's called a superworm, and it's a larvae. They turn into beetles. Well, he developed this whole thing where he would feed them styrofoam, and the easiest phrase is to just say they poop out organic soil. And he had a whole ecosystem with earthworms and mycelium, and it worked. So I was like, oh my God, that's the solution for my shaping dust. And it worked for a little while. But like I said, they turn into beetles. So, I'm glassing for all these prestigious labels. I don't want a bunch of beetles running around my shop. So ultimately, when I launched the Zero Waste Initiative, they kind of became the mascot for it. But what happens with styrofoam, and I want to know if anybody who's actually done this by accident on an art project, if it gets a solvent spilled on it, it melts. So acetone. I still have to use acetone to clean my tools. And we found what it was doing was actually changing the structure and turning it back to plastic. So it creates this polymer. And acetone's gross. It's got fumes. I don't like fumes. So this is a little citrus cleaner. Right? It's delimonite. That is 5 gallons of shaping dust. So that is our process for getting rid of that. And what we can do, we can use it as glue, but when I spread it, I spread it out on a sheet and then we shred it. So my solution for the surfboard industry was making shred. That is what we dubbed our byproduct of the zero waste system, which is a catchy little adjective used to describe what you do on your onboard shorts. You're shredding, right? You're shredding on a snowboard, on a surfboard, on a skateboard. So I've been doing that for 8 years, and what do we do with the shred? So I've now densified my waste, but essentially I've got microplastic waste now. Well, the thing with surfboard production waste is it's actually strong because it's composite materials. So when you bond that to other stuff, it creates strength. And our number one waste stream, aside from all the foam dust, is resin. Every step of making a board, I'm mixing resin. I always have waste. So my wife, being a bartender, she was like, ooh, make shot glasses, make coasters. Well, the bioepoxy is food safe. So we would actually, I've got them somewhere around here. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's my cue. And these are cool. I did these this week. So this is every waste stream in a coaster. And doesn't it kind of look like the ocean or like a seascape? Well, we just did a renovation. I even threw my sawdust in there. I've done ones with kelp, seashells from our neighbor Seatopia. So it's got every type of waste stream in here made from our waste. So we live upcycle. So there's videos of me where you glass the board, it's on a rack, and then I'm on the floor doing this, scooping it up like I'm at Cold Stone Creamery, putting it back in my bucket, and then we put it into molds, and we get these beautiful, it's functional art. We just get these beautiful things, and the problem with that, these are pretty small. So that didn't actually upcycle that much waste. So ultimately at that, I've had 3 factories now. My waste would go in bags upstairs, and I had to figure out, okay, well, I have to monetize it. Otherwise, I'm just hemorrhaging money doing this with the labor involved. So one of the things that I knew we could do that we did recently, so our glassing racks have to be heavy at the base and sturdy, so you put concrete at the bottom. Well, you can mix in all this waste, and it makes the concrete stronger, so we just dubbed it Surfcrete. And when I'm done, you can come up here and look at all this stuff, because I don't know where I put some of it. But we have these little paving stones and Surfcrete bricks, and we can monetize that. We can sell that. We obviously sell our coasters. And the number one tool for surfers, little wax cone. Smallest thing I make. So when we launched this, I did a clear one with a bunch of my shred in it, and there's a very famous wave that went viral, I believe it was in Bali, where, and of course I don't have a picture of it, the surfer's getting barreled and there's all these microplastics in the wave. So this looks like that trash wave. So it resonated with people, and they're on the site and people still buy them. But it became a visual cue for people. And so here's examples of the different ones we have. A lot of our high-selling ones is the Rebowl. We actually have a bowl that you can, I call it a multi-purpose bowl. We have a cat, she loved it. I'll eat my cereal out of it. But these are molds I didn't invent, aside from this specific one with my logo on it. These are on Amazon. I don't like Amazon, but these are readily available silicone molds that we can use to make products out of. So nothing crazy like the re-up project that I'm going to get into. So let's see what we have next. Okay, so Zero Waste Initiative has been going strong for 8 years. At some point, I have to downsize and tell the private label companies I'm working with, you're greenwashing. I don't want to work with you. I'm going to focus on my own label. We have what I call a baby boom during COVID because everybody wanted to get outside because they were stuck inside. And we saw exponential growth in the surfboard industry. And all of a sudden, I'm checking a couple boxes and I got a lot of attention because the other thing we had in 2020 was the resurgence of the BLM. And so the surfboard industry said, hey, there's the sustainable guy who's making boards out of trash and whatever. He's also black. Let's feature him. So we got sponsored by Dockers. We got sponsored by White Claw. I'm going to the UK and making boards at a concert. So we were doing all this stuff, and I never lost sight of the sustainability and the zero waste initiative, and got to pretty much teach and educate that. And so as I'm transitioning to coming over here, one of the things I like to do with my personal boards is I stand up paddleboard a lot, and those are really big boards. And if it got dinged to the point where I need to make another one, instead of buying a new blank, I'd just reuse that one. And remember what I said about how many boards are made annually? Well, how many boards do you think break or end up and age out and go into the landfill? So we started the board upcycling program where I take old boards, this is an old board, where I've stripped it, and one of the things I do with customers, we will take their old board, and I make sure it's sealed, and we literally use compressed air and blow it up. It literally inflates like a balloon, and it's super, like, they love it. You feel like you're a 5-year-old. So this is old board, reshaped, reglassed, and the way you can tell it's the same board is, see that little logo right there? It's in the same spot. And that's me blowing up a board right there. Soft tops, this is another solution for broken boards. Remember what I said, soft tops are like the plastic straws of the ocean? That is a broken soft top turned into a boogie board. And there's okay, this is really cool. So that's a broken soft top that was just given to me, and the board right next to it was made out of broken soft tops. Looks like a regular board, and it's 2 soft tops to make one. It's a lot of work, but ultimately they don't go in the landfill. So we launched that. That's an ongoing program we have. People donate boards every week, and I make new boards out of it. And so here's some examples in the back wall. Old board over there, you can see the original flame airbrush. So that's been stripped, and then I assess the damaged foam and shape around it, and we make new boards. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so board back there, made out of these 2 old soft tops and my really, really messy, dirty shaping room. Okay, more examples of old boards into new and upcycling, and I like to call out the 2 biggest polluters like we do in plastic. The 2 biggest polluters of surfboards is Soft Tech and Wavestorm, and they make millions of boards, and they almost all end up in the landfill, so they're bad. All right, so Altasea. So I ended up here and built out this surfboard production space. I had no idea I was going to be teaching kids about surfboard production and how to make things better, and ultimately Altasea gave me this huge platform to talk about what I've been doing. And along the same time I moved in here, I think I was in here for about 4 months, we had a record El Nino. Does anybody know here what happens when we get a really strong El Nino? What's the number one thing that happens? We get a lot of rain. Lots of rain. There's any surfer in here, what happens when it rains? Jamie, what happens when it rains at El Porto? Yes, so we get urban runoff. So everything, just basically the ocean's a giant toilet. And all this nastiness that's been stagnant and sitting runs right into the ocean. We get raw sewage in the ocean. We get all this nastiness. But as a surfer, we're hyper aware. We see the effects of this. And that year, I think we got something like 14 to 17 inches in 3 days. We had absolutely insane runoff. And I've been surfing the same stretch of sand for 25 years, El Porto and Manhattan Beach. I had never seen the amount of trash, ever, there. And of course we're gonna see it on the wet days when it's raining, but what really concerned me is I was seeing more trash a week later, post-rain, and it had already gotten in the water. So what happened is the wind would whip it up and blow it back. So it's already in the ocean. And it's not just on the surface, it's in the entire water column. And so that, my friends, is what led me to the Re-Up Our Ocean campaign, because I got sick of seeing dolphins and then a trash bag right underneath the belly of a dolphin. Or, I don't have it up here, I surfed into a freaking 2-gallon paint bucket, and I had to grab it. I couldn't stuff it in my wetsuit, so I put it on my head like a dunce cap, and surfed it in, and eventually we shredded it. So for me, this was a call to action. And so what I would do every session is stuff plastic in my wetsuit. So that's one morning. That's over 100 pieces of trash, and I don't surf for 2 to 3 hours anymore because I have to make boards. So that's in an hour. And our first video, it's on my YouTube. I cuss a lot in it, so I'm not playing it today. I picked up about 1,000 pieces of plastic trash in 4 days, and that was like our first hype reel to talk about intentionality and what we plan on doing. Because I was just gonna start shredding plastic. And that's when I started learning about plastic and why it is so difficult and why it sucks. I want you guys to memorize this. An estimated 33 billion pounds of plastic trash enter our ocean every single year. That is 2 garbage trucks every minute. This little graphic is from oceana.org. You can learn a ton about plastic pollution on there and the stats behind it. This is all fact check. Okay, that's what an ocean cleanup, a beach cleanup looks like at my local surf spot after it rains. The number, and that's, obviously if it's organic, if it's wood, I'm not gonna pick it up, it'll biodegrade naturally. It's all plastic. It's 99.9% plastic. And if you go to more, like Venice, I don't do beach cleanups in Venice because you get needles and really icky, nasty stuff. But one of the things we do after I set this in motion is we would partner with bigger groups and organizations that already have existing beach cleanups because I'm only one person. So we would partner with Surfrider and all their different chapters, and I would educate their volunteers about the different plastics. So, again, memorize this. There's 7 different types of plastic. Who here has a blue bin at their house where they chuck, it's a mixed use recycling bin, looks like that, and you put in your cardboard, easy to recycle. You put in your glass, easy to recycle. Your cans, easy to recycle. And then you put in your plastic that has a little triangle on it with a number in it. Do you think that means it's recyclable? It's not. It's the plastic identifier. And my whole life until 2 years ago, I just assumed, because that's the recycling logo, that that's recyclable. So of these numbers, how many of these 7 numbers do you guys think are actually recyclable? Meaning they're formulated to be melted down and then you can remake something out of them. Who said that? Well, you're disqualified because you're on the editing. But three is right. So of those 3, how many in the US actually get recycled of the 3 numbers? 1. And it's easy to remember this because it's the number 1. The number 1 is the most popular, no, I shouldn't say popular, most common plastic. It's clears. And not all clears are the same. It's your water bottle, right? So we see a lot of water bottles in the trash. Well, if I see a water bottle on the beach, I can get it and I know it'll get recycled. Here's the tricky part of the most recycled plastic. The lid on that water bottle is a different type of plastic. So when you're at the beach and you're walking around, you usually see one of 2 things, a water bottle cap or a straw. And the water bottle cap is a different plastic because it's formulated to be more flexible and form a seal on the water bottle itself. PETE, 1 plastic, it's brittle in volume. So if it was as thick as the cap, it would crack. And then that water bottle wouldn't work. So, going backwards to the invention of bioepoxy, that is a very important person to me because it's the smartest person I know. And when I started messing with this, let's shred up plastic and do it all at once and melt it together. It doesn't work that way. He said, his name is Ray Bonatau, if you guys want to look him up. He's a molecular biochemist, and he said, go after the tricky stuff. Don't focus on ones, it's already getting recycled. 4 to 5% of plastics in the US gets recycled. That's it. Like, we are in the Stone Age. If you compare us to like Sweden or some of the countries in Europe, they have much better systems. So, what we are striving to do with the Re-Up Our Ocean campaign is focus on the ones that do not get recycled. I'm not going to say maybe they don't get recycled in the U.S. And those are these. Not all these, but 2s and 5s. And the reason we're focusing on those is that's just what I found a lot of. And B, what can I make with that plastic? So we're in this surf industry, so I'm focusing on surf-centric products. We already have a tool that surfers use. The other tool that's already in your board is surfboard fins. You can't surf a board without a fin. Gives it its direction. Ask me if surfboard fins are eco, if they're sustainably made. No, they're not. So if we can make a fin out of 100% ocean plastic trash, that's probably a good thing, right? We're not recycling. That system is broken, so we have to upcycle. That is the key, is we use trash. So this is the other thing that's absolutely crazy. Black plastic is typically an other. There's a bunch of different types of plastic that are in other. And so that's a big one. A lot of cooking utensils, pots and pans are other. EPS is generally 6 styrofoam, which we can recycle that, but it's got to be, it's a certain process. That's why it's just not, you can't really, when you put your styrofoam in the bin, it's not going to get recycled. It gets incinerated. Okay, so that's what we focus on. We're focusing on the tricky stuff, and a lot of it is in the food industry. Again, wife's a bartender. 6 months ago, I didn't know what type of plastic straws were, and I just assumed there's no way I can recycle those. It's a 5. We love 5s. 5s have some give. They're a little bit more flexible, so they yield a good product for us. So we have been concentrating on 5s and 2s, and we've actually set up a network of bins, as you'll see up here. I think there's another one over there, with our little logo and a tiny little hole in the top, so people don't toss a bunch of trash in there. They only put their straws in there. And my wife's bar said, absolutely. So when we have a black wax comb, I know those straws came from her bar. But some of the videos I post about, I know where these straws come from. Green is Starbucks, right? McDonald's is the white and yellow and red. Big Gulp, 7-Eleven. Now, one thing I want to point out, and this is humans trying to help the problem but creating more of a problem. So who here knows about Erewhon? Erewhon's great. They've got the $20 smoothies. So they opened a new one near El Porto in Manhattan Beach, and all of a sudden I started seeing these colorful straws on the beach or in the bin. And I'm like, oh, straws, sick, we'll use them. These are a PLA. They're actually a bioplastic, which we would think, oh, that's awesome, they're compostable. You can't compost these at home because your compost doesn't go over 160 degrees. So they're formulated to only break down at a certain temperature, and most people at home don't have that capability. So what happens if I shred these and melt them down with the other plastics? They don't bond, and now I've ruined that batch. So that's a whole other problem. We have to process these separately. Let's see what we got next. Okay. So here's how the Re-Up Our Ocean project works. Remember how I said I had a high-density plastic shredder for shredding surfboard waste, as in I wasn't even using it to shred plastic? Well, we're actually using it to shred plastic now. And the tricky part, it's literally 4 steps. So it's right over there, and somewhere Brad is over here. So shout out to ABC Solar. Our high-density plastic shredder is solar powered, and we're doing a demonstration today and fire it up, and we're gonna shred a bunch of plastic trash. So I'm really excited about that. But first, we sort it. And this is one of the trickiest parts. What happens if it's been in the ocean and it's broken down? Well, now we know kind of based on the sheen, if it's matte or shiny, what plastic it is. If it's a film, it's a 4. We can generally figure out what type of plastic it is. We work with Paddle Out Plastics. They're a local San Pedro group. They go out on stand-up paddleboards. There we are. We go out on stand-up paddleboards. They do weekly cleanups, and they pre-sort their trash, and they donate it to us. So big friends of the shop, huge supporters. I love what they do, and they have a lot of really cool imagery. Give them a follow. They sort it all out and show in volume what this looks like. And they get all kinds of stuff, and they go right out here. So that stuff's not clean, right? A lot of plastic trash is contaminated, so we rinse it, then sort it, rinse it, then we shred it. High-density plastic shredders over there. And then what we get, we've got a little collection bin at the bottom. We get our flake. So now we've got microplastics, basically, but they're all in their different 2s or 5s or whatever, right? So then we make. And this number one thing over here is our wax comb. So the one I showed you earlier, that's our shred, that's our surfboard waste. I like the plastic one better, because now I can start putting stats out there, like this little wax comb used 9 straws and 2 takeout containers and 3 water bottle lids. And so now we're going to be able to post these results and show people this is working, this is a solution for the gnarliest problems our planet has. But ultimately, All this is great, but you have to be able to sell it. Otherwise, it's not financially sustainable. Another very good part of being sustainable. So we sell. And we sell on my website, we sell at different shops, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the end of the pictures. But I just want to go over how important it is. I think with surfers, we have tunnel vision. We see the report, we get to the beach, oh my God, the waves are going off, and we just forget, and we go surf. Every single day, on my way out of the water or on my way in, I pick up trash. That's from this morning. And my wetsuit can only fit so much stuff, so I just bring a little, well, if I go back, how do I go forward? No, sorry. We'll go to the very first picture. That's me every day. Every day. And I don't even have that wetsuit anymore, so I have to like stuff it in my sleeves. Do your part, pick up some trash. Pick up some, if you're going to the beach, because that's where we see it the most, pick up some plastic trash. You know where to donate it. So now, working with Altasea, we have a network of bins where we only accept 3 types of plastic. What are they? What are those numbers? We're not going to use the ones, but we'll make sure they get recycled. 2s and 5s. That's what we love. That's what my interns who are sitting in the front row, Kalani, who's not an intern anymore, he actually works with me, and Ariel, they're the ones in the stuff. They're doing the work because I'm making boards. But yeah, the moral of the story is plastic sucks. And so one of the things, and I can't mention the company, but again, you can Google it and figure it out. We launched a crowdfunding campaign to figure this out because there's real precious plastics, I think .org, precious plastics. It's all open source machinery that helps us precious plastics helps us process the precious plastics. And so over here to the left, for the first time like ever, we're showing off the machines that we just got by partnering with my genius buddy who invented the bioresin 18 years ago. So it's kind of come all full circle. And that's going to allow us to scale. Because right now, Kalani's making these wax combs in a little silicone mold in a toaster oven. Not scalable. So we've got some pretty gnarly machinery. One is an extruder, and I didn't throw the slide up here, but the way the extruder, and again, when I'm done after the Q&A, I want you to come look at all this stuff and touch and feel everything. Surfboard waste here, re-up stuff over here, the different types of plastics. How the way the extruder works is it's a top feed machine, and it's got a little corkscrew bit at the bottom. So we throw the stuff in the top, and then it presses it into a column that gets hot, and then you can change the piece at the end. So now we can extrude 3D plastic filament. We can actually extrude plastic trash beams. Those plastic trash beams are building blocks. We're going to be able to make chairs and benches. I kind of want to see some blue benches at Altasea, because that's the Altasea color is blue, and there's a lot of blue plastic trash out there. The other one is an injection molder, and that's over there, and that's how we're going to make the surfboard fins. And so we've got our functional prototypes over there, so you can see how the plastic is pressed, because if we press it into a silicone mold, it cools off and it won't really work. Last little thing I will showcase real quick, because it's amazing. 3D printed surfboard out of PLA, out of bioplastic, looks like a regular board until you do this. Where's the light? Can you guys see that? So it's hollow, and this is not foam. This is bioplastic. And this is a company called Swell Cycle that I'm working with for the last 2 years. And remember I said we can make our own 3D printer filament? So very soon we're going to be able to make a board out of trash. Not a soft top, literally out of plastic trash. So yeah, we're innovating, and I'm just stoked to let you guys know about what we're doing. And last little bit, you can buy keychains, you can buy wax combs. Remember I said if we got to sell, you can support us that way. There's also a QR code on those bins if you want to learn more about our crowdfunding campaign. And When we're done, I'm going to be over there messing around at the shop if you want to come check out our space in Berth 57. Thank you. And we'll do a Q&A in a minute. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Rye. This is really fantastic. What we're going to do now, I just want to wrap up a couple of additional announcements, and then I think Ryan's going to just go over here by the shredder to demonstrate shredding and do any Q&A. So come up and see how that works, and you can volunteer with him. And again, let's support him by buying those coasters and surfboard fins and any of the other materials. He is definitely a solution to the problem, not just the plastic problem, but the problem of how do we get people to understand and care about the ocean. Give him another great big round of applause. Well, in closing today, I want to say that we're also we're happy to welcome the Da Vinci Connect 6th through 8th grade students here at Altasea. The students explored the vibrant world of coral reefs, investigated their critical role in ocean ecosystems, and determined the factors leading to their decline. They then created 3D models of coral reef animals from recycled materials. And each model includes a QR code that links to their call to action letter. So by scanning the code, you can read the letters. Yes, exactly. You can read the letters in which the students selected their audience and identified a specific change that they wanted to advocate for, giving them a voice in real-world issues. So please be sure to stop by their exhibits right back over here. Alan, wave your hand. Charlie, yep. Our education team over there. Please be sure to stop by these exhibits and meet the students who created these wonderful pieces of art and activism. Stop by our volunteer table to find out how you can volunteer to receive urgency membership and other discounts and great swag, as I mentioned before. And we've got, of course, all of our wonderful tables of our other community partners around here. We want you to spend time with them. And I mentioned before the volunteers. I want to specifically call out and thank 3 in particular this week: Joyce Nyert, Lisa Bodnar, and Jeffrey Katz. Give them a great big round of applause for all the hard work they've done. And last but not least, our next open house is Saturday, March 14th. Ryan mentioned ABC Solar, one of our partners here. They're going to be talking about innovations in solar energy, and just a really fascinating program, so mark your calendars. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Enjoy our partners, enjoy the students. Brian's going to take it from here in terms of his exhibit. Don't stand too close because there's some toxic fumes and things or whatever, but he'll be answering questions as long as you've got questions. And again, thanks for coming. Remember, our future is blue. Thank you.